We have a quorum. We're ready to go. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the February 9th, 2017 minutes. Anybody have any additions, corrections to those minutes? If not, I will entertain a motion to...
Move to approve the minutes?
Second.
Moved and seconded, moved by Ron, seconded by Bob, I think, first. No further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, financials, Nancy, you're on.
Okay, I'll just talk briefly about the profit and loss. There's very little line at this point that's out of
Moved by Ron, seconded
being
by
real
Bob.
close to where it should be. Supplies and passes is kind of high, but they just ordered, I think, 1,000 barcodes. So that's probably the whole year's supply, just about those. The one thing that made me realize, looking at that, is we're probably gonna have to up the budget for that next year, because we're to the point now where more and more people are getting passes that they have to pay for, and so we're gonna be using more and more passes.
But should the fees pay for that?
Pretty close.
Is it?
It covers it, yeah.
Yeah, I would think $10 a pass, we should,
Yeah.
if they have to pay that, I would think, I think would be a big money maker.
Be a little
No, it's not
revenue
a big money
It's not a
maker.
big
It's not a
money
big
maker.
money maker,
Uh-huh.
so.
Well, not big, but
But, yeah,
break
but-
even anyway.
yeah.
But it's supplies and passes all together in
Yeah.
one, so
Okay.
probably we'll use that a little bit next year.
Okay.
Be a little revenue.
The monuments repair and maintenance is
Yeah.
high, and it's going to be on here because we had separated out the power washing, and then
Yeah.
they didn't separate it when they coded it, so it's gonna continue to be.
It's all your fault.
It's-
What happened is
Oh,
Sarah and I, when we
excuses.
were working on this year's budget, because the power washing was kind of scattered all over throughout the budget, we pulled it out and put it as a separate line item, and then they sort of forgot they did that when they started coding.
Okay. But the other accounts then, I assume,
The other accounts just sit there.
will offset it.
Yeah. So, do you want me to talk about the meeting with, about the $90,000?
Yes, yeah, yeah, I think you should.
Okay, we met about 3 weeks ago, I guess it was, Jason and Sarah and April, and Stephen Bloom was on the phone with us to talk about the $90,000 check they're going to be getting, because we've had a lot of
Yes,
issues in the
yes,
past
yeah,
probably
yeah, I think you
3
should.
months with old invoices being discovered that they hadn't been billed to us, and we were playing catch up. In fact, I think it was in December, I got invoices from February through December that had not yet been billed to us, and so a lot of it was from the prior year. Luckily, we have funds back there, so there was money to pay them. So we talked about internal controls to try to keep this from happening, and Castle Group is now going to provide, and I'm not sure if you're gonna, I think you're gonna send the balance sheets and that both to April and I.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll get a copy of their balance sheet every month now when they.
That'll go with that'll come with the funding request. It'll be
Okay,
part of it.
okay. The only issue I still have, like, when we start March 1st, the expenses starting March 1st, they should be coming from that $90,000 that they're gonna have this, looks like, a balance now for their account. And I don't think we've zeroed out yet for February, so what I'd like to do is, after we do all the February invoices, is sit down with somebody from Castle Group and figure out how far off we are for everything from beginning to whenever they were doing this through February 28th, to see how much we're over in that zero balance account that will now become a $90,000. So I think we're getting closer. It sounded like from Sarah that with all these invoices that you've been sending, that we're getting closer and closer to being at that zero. And at one point in time, she thought maybe we were actually gonna be over balanced because of the, we think probably for the damages to the gate and that, where they were getting the insurance reimbursement. But now 2 of them we've credited back, so we're trying to get that in line too. So hopefully we can get down to where we know that we're at zero or almost a zero balance before dipping into the $90,000.
And I'm gonna be reviewing the prior month, like, say, the end of, after.
Jason, you might want to
Yes.
walk up here so
Yeah.
Diane can get it on the.
At the end of the following month, I'll be reviewing the prior month to make sure, checking for any invoices or anything that was missed, so that we're not looking at a whole year like she was, like she mentioned earlier. That's just another thing we're doing to.
Is that what happened with January? Because I know I got.
Yes, exactly. That's what that was. I went back to look at
Um,
January to make
I'll be
sure.
reviewing the
And
prior month to
because
make sure
that's just the way
checking for any
things
invoices or
happen
anything that was
with
missed,
our
so that we're
accounting
not looking
department.
at a
and
whole year like she
When
did.
things get
That's
allocated,
a
she
lot.
mentioned earlier, that's just another
So you do a monthly
thing we're
catch-up.
doing. Exactly.
Because I'm always a month
Yes,
behind
exactly.
on
That's what that was. I
all
went
the
back to look at
savings
January to make
I'll be
sure.
reviewing the
Separate
prior month.
trend
Because that's
Mhm.
just the way
Checking for any
things
invoices or
happen
anything
with
that was
our
missed,
accounting
we're not
department.
looking at a whole year like she
When
did.
things get
And
ours allocated. run a month too, so.
So as long as I have like January.
Exactly. Yes,
Right.
exactly. That's what that was. I went back to look at January to
Uh,
make sure.
One of the comments was that Severn Trent has to start doing electronic.
And ours run a
transfer so you
month
get the money
too, so.
immediately. Is that
We
resolved?
did talk about that.
That's in the agreement.
Is it in the agreement now?
Yes.
Stephen,
And I asked Stephen, I sent him an email before the agreement was finalized. He never said anything, he never said anything to Tony or anybody else, so he said the agreement
and
resolved.
see, and the reason that's an issue, and this came up when we were meeting too, I don't know if it was you or Sarah mentioned that, sometimes for the date that I approve the invoices and send them for payment, it's 30 days before Severn Trent gets a check to them. So that causes a lot of hardship on their end. So Stephen checked into it, if we do the electronic fund transfers, it's $10 per transfer. So if we have them transferring, well, that's what the bank charges. He went to the bank to see what they charge.
Yeah,
Will it
that's-
speed it up that much, or is the problem elsewhere?
See, that's what I'm not sure, because if somebody at Severn Trent isn't
Yeah,
addressing the issue,
exactly.
it's not gonna matter, it's still gonna be a month before we get the invoices.
Exactly.
So I'd like to track that with you and see what the timeline is for a couple months and see, because Steven
Yeah.
said he'd address it.
Yeah.
He said that they cut checks every week and that shouldn't be happening, so he was gonna look into it.
Well, I can share that based on the first retainer check from March 1st was received today,
Okay.
just
So
to make everyone aware.
90,000?
It was, yeah, it was received today.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, it seems to me that a couple things. Number one, the difference between cutting a check
Well,
and doing an
I can
electronic
share that based on the
transfer
first retainer check from
is
March
only gonna
1st
be a
was
couple of
received today.
days, right?
Right.
So I don't-
Should only be.
It should only be a couple of days. Well, but,
received today.
yeah, but the problem isn't being created by how we're transmitting the funds. The problem's being created by the not catching up, the delay in establishing what should be paid.
Right.
It
There's really no excuse
should
for
only be a
Severn
couple of
Trent.
days.
30
Well, but,
days.
yeah, but the problem isn't being created by how we're transmitting. But
Really not that unusual.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, but we, we should do everything we can to speed it up. And they're somewhat covered by the escrow, by the
But they will be
90,000.
by the 90,000. But when you say it's not uncommon in business, I can understand like in businesses because
really
they're
not.
pushing the limit on paying invoices.
Right.
But this is Severn Trent cutting a check from our money
Yes, right.
to us, not
And they're somewhat covered
not
by the escrow.
an invoice that, they're kind of holding their money as long as they
It's not
can.
like they're raising interest.
Yeah. yeah.
Nobody's making any money.
Right. Well, in any event, you'll work with Jason to see
Yeah,
what we.
Oh, yeah.
Let's try to track it for a couple months and see how quickly those checks are coming in from the.
Absolutely.
See.
It's easy for me to remember when they come in.
I have one other question on that meeting. The old agreement had $50,000, and at some point, they were like, well, we're not sure we're getting it. Is that resolved? I mean, the 50,000 didn't just
Absolutely.
fall through the cracks
It's easy
somewhere?
for me to remember.
Some account?
Somebody told me they think that 50,000 never actually.
Never happened.
I don't think it ever
That was
started.
my
Not-
understanding.
Not that,
They,
yeah.
they never got,
Well,
they
from
never
Sarah
put it
said,
up.
huh?
They never put up the money. We never put up the money.
Well, was that when Severn Trent took over? Because I think prior to that, account was what? Didn't Severn Trent just
I don't
take
think it
over
ever started.
what,
Not-
3-4 years ago?
Not
Yeah,
that, yeah.
they never got.
Well,
they never
I
got-
realize this agreement goes back to 08.
Yeah.
But going back to the Brian Land
Well,
thing,
was that when Severn Trent took over? Because I
whatever
think
that
prior
other
to
company
that,
was, I don't remember
Yeah.
now. I thought the money
didn't
was.
Severn
already-
Trent, I think it was too. Now, that could be just
But
the
I,
Severn
you know,
Trent.
we never
thing.
really had to pay issues till September.
I realize this agreement goes back to 08.
And I've got invoices, open invoices for last September,
You do.
or last August and September, that I think just
I
got
think it
paid.
was too. Now, that
So
could
that's
be
the problem.
just
But
the
I,
Severn
we
Trent.
never really had to pay. If you're getting it in 30 days for Severn, that's lightning fast. So I've got invoices, I can just tell you this.
But
it's
as
not
Nancy
acceptable.
said, it's our account.
Well, they're all,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. They're just dispensing all of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I fight for bills, and literally, I was just in one within this past month for invoices from August, September, October.
But as Nancy said, it's our,
Stevens.
For a variety of reasons, it's not all Seventh Trent, a lot of it has to do with April.
well, that,
But it's a lot of reasons.
that could be more now, too.
But
with her
but
new
at that
function.
point, all I'm saying is, she at that time was part of Seventh Trent, I mean, really.
Yeah, she was working for Seven.
So, you know, there's a lot.
Do we think she's now gonna expedite for that?
It's a lot of reasons.
I mean, she's got a lot more duties with the budget now, too.
She at that time was.
Yes, but she
She's
has-
actually created a little cover sheet that Casper's supposed to be using now, and they asked for the
There's a lot.
reimbursement. So it's supposed to account for the 90,000 and, you know, that's.
She's got a lot more duties with the budget.
With a little spreadsheet.
Okay.
She's actually, I don't think it's any more useful than what you were doing already. Just tells, basically gets down to the bottom line, here's the amount of money we're
Mhm.
getting. So, but Stephen said they cut checks once a week at Southern Trent, so there should be no delay like we're talking about.
And on a special basis, they can cut it on the same day you ask. On a special basis, they can do it in a day.
Okay.
But I mean, as a routine, they should
As a routine.
You should get paid in 2 weeks.
At the latest, yes. If I approve it,
As a
say,
matter of routine,
you
it
know,
should
I
be
don't
2
know what day
weeks.
they'll cut checks, but let's say it's Friday. If I approve something on Tuesday, they
You
should
would
cut
hope to
that
think.
check on Friday, and they should have it another 3 business days.
Part of the process is from that Tuesday to Friday, you don't get it. There may not be another Friday for 30 days. That's just the way they do
They have a
it.
different calendar, right?
Well, believe me, I am well aware of it.
They're on the Gregorian calendar.
Is it possible for PPAC to make an issue to CDD at Severn Trent?
Well,
Is there,
for
for,
probably could, but that's why I'd like to track for a couple months with
Yeah.
them and see if it's
Is it
improving.
possible?
Yeah.
Like Stephen said, he
But
would
see,
monitor.
but I
When
think.
we have been one-on-one, to answer your question, John, when I'm one-on-one with Stephen,
at Severn Trent?
if you wait for the system, they don't.
But that's why-
The system takes what it takes. But when you really need the money, Stephen will make it.
Can
We
you
have been one-on-one.
do that?
But you should.
Get directly into Stephen and say, hey,
Well, we shouldn't have to do
We
that
shouldn't
on a
have to
regular
do that.
basis. Let's let Nancy do her thing.
Yeah.
If things don't improve,
They
then
do have a
we'll,
new process.
and then we'll
One
bring it
light
up.
just went off. Stephen, there's a term that he uses. They have a
directly into
accelerated
Stephen
payment
and say,
system.
hey.
Well, we
You can
shouldn't
just
have
make
to
this
do
item
on a regular basis.
one of those that's
Let's let
flagged
Nancy
as
do
accelerated.
her thing.
Well,
If things
I
don't
asked
improve,
at
That's not the
this
right word,
meeting
that's
we
what
had,
it is.
what was causing the delay?
Just went off
And I think April responded probably after Stephen was off the phone, that they just don't have a big staff. And when somebody takes a vacation or is sick, they don't get a replacement, they let everybody fill in, and so they just keep getting behind. And I assume she would know that because she works there.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. Nancy, anything else?
I don't think so.
The one thing I might be appropriate to bring up right now, just so that we say it, is my supplement to my report of the recent meeting, and that is that we are gonna be getting an extra $8,500 in assessed costs. And, you know, it's possible that number may go up. The purchase of the Girl Scout building, they're trying to hold that within the amount that they were gonna plan for renovating this building. But whether they do or don't, but ultimately, you know, that's gonna cost us money too. So in the future years, I think we're gonna see our op and admin assessment from Gateway going up. And it's really not Gateway, and as I explained to the way they do those assessments is 70% of it goes to the utility. This is the op and admin expenses. 70% goes to the utility, about 20 goes to Gateway, and 10 goes to us. And the split between ourselves and Gateway is based on ERUs. They've got about 2/3 of the ERUs, we've got about 1/3 of the ERUs. And that's the way they.
Is the Girl Scout building is a new term, but is that going to be a new physical building?
Oh, yes, it's a building that they are,
Down up the road.
up the road, but they are negotiating with the owners of this building to
Get
buy
rid of
it.
this thing, move it
Huh?
all there?
No, my understanding is there'll still be some activity in this building as well. Yeah, there'll be some of the staff there and some of it here, not absolutely certain.
Where's the building at?
They are negotiating with the owners of this building. to buy it.
Behind
Huh?
the
No,
Lutheran
no,
Church,
my
Gateway Lutheran
understanding
Church,
is there'll still be
which
some
is what, a
activity
block
in this
away or
building
2
as
blocks
well.
away?
Yeah, there'll be some of the staff
And,
there and some of it
we
here.
have
I
plenty
don't
of,
know.
Not absolutely certain.
yeah, we have plenty of surplus funds to cover that 8,500 this
Yes,
year.
yeah, it's not a
We
problem.
had some from prior years, plus we built in.
What a question that I was gonna ask. Could we get for 2016, I assume the books are closed pretty much by now?
I
2016?
I don't know if Southern Trend has absolutely finalized theirs.
Yeah,
But it should be pretty close.
It's gotta be pretty close.
Yeah.
So could we, at a very high level, I don't need every individual account, but maybe some people would like to see that. Revenues, expenditures, reserves, and other.
Yeah.
i.e.
Just for us
excess
or
money.
for somebody
Just for us.
Yeah, we,
I
Just
meant
for us.
just Pelican Reserve.
Yeah,
Not all
yeah.
the communities.
Yeah, no, just us, just.
do you guys get the monthly
Revenue,
financial statements from Southern Trend?
expenditures,
No.
Southern
No.
Trent, okay?
Yeah,
I do.
I get,
Excess money.
you do probably because you're,
Ah, I meant just,
yeah.
But you just get your piece of
I don't
it.
get all
You get it all.
Yeah, and that's probably what.
Just
you're
because it's
talking
easier to
about.
send it.
Well, I don't know, I don't need it every month.
It's got the
I'm
balance
just-
sheet.
Just
yeah.
5 or 6 numbers, that's it. I don't need.
No, it's a lot more than that.
It's
Well,
not
what
on
I'm
a
just
cash,
trying to
it's not on a
say-
cash basis.
You just get your piece of it.
It's not on a cash basis, so it's on an accrual
Just
basis.
because it's easier to send it.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
See, just, yeah, I want the
Yes and
cash-
no, but 2016 ended at a certain point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any
Okay.
old bills
We
that
had,
are
we
still
had
billed back.
revenues,
Yeah.
we had expenditures, we put a bunch of money in
Yeah.
reserves, and then there's other.
The amount of change is infinitesimal.
And what
now.
happened
It's
to the
pretty
other?
well finalized.
Where's the
Oh,
other?
finalized.
But the other is this carryover. that
Well,
Nancy was referring
And this is
that's
what
what
I
I'm
get.
saying, so revenues, we had
And this is the statement, revenues, expenditures,
reserves,
changes in fund
and then
balance
there's
for
other.
funds.
Now, is there a summary for the year, or is it month by month?
The
Well,
other is
yeah, the one for the
this
last month of the year was, this is year to date. So
Okay.
this one here is for January 31st, and our fiscal year starts October 1, so this is October 1 to 1/30. So the one I have for last October will be for the entire year, but I don't think they've had their final audit yet. So I have, but it shouldn't change.
That could
It'll be a
take
very
months
small-
and
It'll be
months.
very small.
I don't- I'm not concerned about a 1%
Right.
difference.
Right.
I just like to know, we collected, $8 million, we spent $7.5 million, we put 300,000 in reserves, and there's a carryover of 200,000.
I will
That's
make
it, 5 numbers.
copies,
Okay.
I'll make
That's all I'm
copies
looking
of the
for. I'm
October
not concerned about the
one,
1%.
the September 30 one for next meeting, I'll bring a copy for
We collected,
everybody. And,
$8 million.
because I pull this, I get, the one I get is huge, because it's got all the gateways, so I just
want
pull out
the
health
huge.
reserve portion.
And that's in the same format as the budget stuff, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Is that something?
Not
that-
necessarily line by line like we're used to with budget.
Okay.
In fact, there's one line on here that I've asked Stephen about, because it's where all of our
And
expenditures
that's in the
are,
same
it's called
format
HOA
as
agreement.
the budget stuff.
And according to Stephen, it should only have in
Is that-
there.
is that
Not
something-
necessarily line
expenses
by
Rice and
line.
Ola
Right.
from Castle Group, but it never matches exactly. And I can't figure out why. But at the end of the year,
Yeah.
we're very,
But at
I
the
mean,
end
we're
of the
talking
year, it
$1
should be
million,
pretty close.
so we're
I
very
mean,
close.
you get monthly variations for lots of reasons.
And like, I'm not sure, like, all of those expenses I got from Jason that went back to last February, I'm not inputting them into our budget year for this year, because
But at the end of the
our
year, it's pretty
expenses
close.
have to be just this fiscal year that I look at, so that I can do the budget for next year.
Right.
If I include the $90,000 or so that came in, it's gonna mess up.
Yeah.
I don't know if Stephen, because it's getting paid in this year, but that'll probably be in our HOA this year. So we probably won't match this year.
Mhm.
But I'll make a copy of this for everybody for both the final ones for last September 30th, for our fiscal year that ended, and then I'll bring the February one copy for everybody.
It is confusing to try and keep track of it on a year-to-date basis.
Yeah, I
Only
would agree with that.
because, I'll get an invoice on a vendor, whatever. He did the work last September, but he didn't put it in for payment until January, and they paid it in January.
Exactly, yeah.
So I keep track of that in January, but also look at my budget from last year where it didn't show.
So that's where the money presumably.
That's exactly right.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if.
I got $680,000 right
Sitting.
now. Sitting. That's been verified by Stephen for prior years.
Right, and that's okay.
Yeah, right.
You know, and it's, I'm just looking for those high-level numbers.
I'm complimenting Severin to the extent that I personally see every invoice. Not only a line item they paid, but the invoice behind, I get that every month.
And that's
See, I see
And
okay.
you go
every
through that.
invoice for ours.
But between the two of you, you've got this running picture of what's going on.
Absolutely.
Every single invoice.
And every time we've tried to double check with, it's a moving target, it's like nailing Jello to the wall. But the big picture is, they're always in agreement, say, yeah, that's what you got left.
Yeah, and
We
that's
can never
what I'm
line up
looking for.
all the A's and the B's and the C's.
Yeah.
The
Once you
big
get
picture
down
is
into the
those.
weeds,
For the
it
big
gets.
picture.
Every time
Yeah,
we're
that's
trying
what I'm
to double
looking
check.
Yeah, and looking at the monthly, like,
It's a moving
we probably
target.
get 40 FPLs.
But the big picture.
Every
is they're always
pond,
in
every
agreement.
irrigation system. And
And
trying to
they never
line
line
them
up
up
all
and make
the
sure
A's
that
and
they're
B's.
code, it's almost impossible. Almost
But
acceptable.
Severn is so much better than that plan.
Yeah, you're looking at.
Oh, this is, you don't have the perspective of the old one. This is light years ahead of the old system.
But when there were problems with Severn in the past.
No, I'm talking before Severn, when the Brian Lamb group was here.
Yeah, but I mean, prior when Severn was, yeah,
Oh, before the.
Oh, I wasn't here for that.
Yeah,
and,
Oh,
Okay.
Since Stephen's taken over, it's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
As slow as they are.
yeah. Okay, well, let's move along here. Okay, we're getting into association manager report and Securitas. And the first item there is background checks, and that really is not in Jason's bailiwick. Okay, well, let's. As I think I indicated in my report, the board accepted our recommendation, and they rescinded the requirement that we have annual background checks,
Great.
which is terrific. And we were supported by the Stony Brook people as well, because they didn't want to do it either. So the board has rescinded that. However, Tony then informed us that that requires an amendment to the recently signed O&M agreement that took us.
Will it ever be done?
Will it ever be done?
It was signed, it's done.
It's done.
It
It's
is,
done.
it is a done deal.
It's a done deal.
It's now, there's an amendment to the new.
To the new one. Anyway, it's an amendment to the new one. And John, I know you had a comment on this, but
It's an unofficial comment.
unofficial comment, but I wanted to check,
It is a done deal.
before we said the amendment looks good, I wanted to check with Bob French and the people in Securitas, because one of the things, and it's in your package, and was in, is Jan's memo, which says that we're doing these eight different checks. And I want to be sure that we are doing these 8 different checks.
Right.
And so that's the only reason to kind of verify with Bob.
And Securitas would be the company doing this.
That's correct.
We hope.
We hope. And the new agreement specifies these 8 things. And so it was my opinion that we didn't have to pass the amendment again. We already approved, PPAC already approved the agreement, and we also approved this rescinding of the background check thing. So I'm not sure, I think we can just move forward with the thing without having a formal approval by us.
This is public reserve, background checks.
We also approved
Reserve,
this.
Securitas
Well,
does these.
Those are on our behalf.
Securitas does it
Yeah,
on
whoever the
our behalf.
contractor is.
It's
They're
their guards, it's their guards, and so they do it, yeah.
Yeah, they-
And they were gonna charge us for the background checks.
Oh, yeah.
So
'Cause it's more than what they were
now
doing.
we think we are in accord with what their normal procedures are, and so there should be no extra charges. Wasn't a huge sum of money, but it was worth saving a couple of $1,000. So they do it,
Couple thousand bucks is huge.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I'm glad, I told Jan I was glad that she pursued this thing as diligently as she did. So, that's okay. Jason, if you would come forward and give us some flavor of what's happening with Dwelling Live. I will have to admit to you that I still have concerns about signing people up. And it's to the benefit of all the people in the community. The more people we can get using Dwelling Live, the more efficient the front gate will be. There's no downside. So you want to just give us a flavor of how many people there are and how you see it from your perspective?
Yeah, sure. We actually have Ryan Morris here from Securitas because Bob was in training.
Right.
And we've been going over some numbers. We have about 40% of people using the system at this point. The individual issues that we see through the Castle Group office have almost diminished completely. It is down substantially. I think we got through the worst of it in the first month. 40%. From that perspective, things are going very well. We have some things behind the curtain, if you will, that we are working with Securitas to clear up. But overall, it is down substantially. I think we got through the worst of it in the first month. From that perspective, things are going very well. We have some
that's
things
40%
behind the curtain, if you
actively
will,
using it?
that we are working with Securitas to clear up.
How many signed up?
You want to step up here and introduce yourself if you would, Brian?
Good afternoon, my name is Ryan Morris. I'm one of the branch managers for Securitas, so I'm here on Bob's behalf.
That's 40%.
We have about a little over 40% of active users in the system. Everyone is automatically enrolled, if you will, when they're registered. So you kind of look at the participation levels. You're also going to get lots of seasonal dips and highs. When people come back, they'll usually use it for the first time, and then they'll wait till they come back again and then use it again. So you're going to see a lot of fluctuation when that comes.
What I was trying to get at, Brian, because I signed up
Kind of look at the participation
successfully
levels.
after
You're
a
also
lot
going to get lots of
but I've never
seasonal
opened it since.
dips and highs.
And I didn't know if I would be
Come back,
considered an
they'll
active
usually use
user.
it for the first time, No. and then they'll wait till they
Okay,
come back again.
that's all I need.
So
People
you're
are
gonna see a lot
actually
of
using it.
fluctuation on that.
So the overall, I think, it was a number closer to about 1,100 overall with
Actually registered.
around 800 at active usage.
And I can attest that even I can figure out how to use it. It works very well.
Good.
Once you get in there.
So,
I don't remember the actual registration.
Yeah.
okay, the registration process that you usually sent out, is that still okay to use that registration process?
The original that was mailed out?
Yeah, the thing that was mailed out, yeah.
That's still.
Fine work.
Some of them didn't work.
Some of them just-
Yeah, that was a big part of the initial problem that we had, which is why we told people to call us or call the gatehouse,
Okay.
and we would walk them through the
They don't know what
process.
they sent you.
And that's pretty much what we've been doing
Yeah.
since, individual help.
It seems to me that we need to develop
Yeah, that was a big part of the
educational
initial problem
tools
that we
or
had,
tools
which is
to
why we
encourage
told
more people. I mean, I'd certainly would like to have it a hell of a lot higher than 40% of the people using
And
it.
that's pretty much
It's
what
great
we've
if we
been
could get
doing
it to 75 or 80%.
Well, but he's saying 1,100 folks have registered.
Correct.
Now, the people are registered, now the question is, and only 40% of the total are using it.
Yes, right, I
So the
understand that.
question is, from your perspective, has the calls to the gatehouse increase, decrease, or remain about the same since we've done all of this?
They've remained about the same as far as calling in a guest ahead of
Yes,
time.
right, that's what I meant.
Okay,
Yeah.
So the key would be their numbers to reduce that
That's right, exactly.
volume of
Are
calls.
the residents that's calling in, are they automatically told, you can use this on Dwelling Live, but we'll help you out?
Yes, there is prompting, and we do have people going to the gatehouse where they receive one-on-one training with the guard on how to register and how to log in and use that, and it seems to be working very well.
Residents that call, are they automatically told, you can use this on Dwelling
We'll
Live?
refresh.
Yes, there is prompting, and we do have people going to the gatehouse where they receive one-on-one training. Well, as far as the old system, my understanding is, it's not really usable, it's there, it's active.
No, prior to the change, how much how much percentage was being used?
No.
My understanding, it was nowhere near 40%.
Yeah,
As far as the
So this is already.
our publicity
And
is.
if the calls are the same, we're already at the break-even point. Everything that we do going forward is gonna be an increase in those calls.
I mean, I have to admit something. My wife calls. She is not gonna go on the app. She is not gonna do it.
Tough to teach old people.
I've had a few people tell me that.
She refuses, I mean, it just won't. I do have a comment though. When I registered, I have to admit something. All my old cars, were on the system. And the only way they said I could change it, I could not change it on the system. I had to call Castle, and I guess Jill. And I'm like, why would, because every time if a car was sold, or if I had a new sticker, I did it through Castle. Why didn't it get transferred correctly? Just curious, and, you know, has it happened to other people?
Well, from my experience, whenever you take data from another system and try to import it into a new one, you're going to have a little bit of a difference in the data. How it's imported, as far as accuracy goes, it's usually fairly good, but you will run into little glitches here and there with that.
Oh, I mean, was this I'm sure there's a lot of people with cars that have.
It wasn't across the board.
It was not.
This is a
Right.
perfect
Okay. It was just-
example of
all
one
right,
of
so it
those
was
things
just mine
that
individually,
we're having to do
which got
individually
resolved.
and figure out and
Yeah,
fix
you guys
it as a
resolved
whole.
it, not a problem.
But you will run into little
Can
glitches.
you-
My car's all
Oh, I mean, was this?
imported, but I was able to prove that.
A lot of people. I could not, I was not able to.
It wasn't across the
And
board.
I just wanted
This is
to
a
add.
perfect example of one of
So
those
it's just
things.
mine
that
individually,
we're having to do
which
Me
got
and
resolved.
my husband is never, ever gonna use the system. So if you're looking at numbers is not a real accurate way to measure success. Because in our household, it's always gonna be 50%.
Right.
Always.
Well,
Same.
yeah, it seems to me, though, and I acknowledge that, and we knew that going in, that there would be a lot of people who would not use it, and there are some people who don't even have computers, so they can't use it. So we were aware of that, but it seems to me it behooves us to push it as much as possible, to get as many people using it as we possibly can, because it is to the benefit of the community to do that.
I was thinking the 1100 was households anyway, not
They can't use
individuals.
it.
Yeah.
Because I gotta say, mine's in the reverse of Trudy's. My wife will never use it, but I will.
Yeah,
Our
me
family.
too. And my husband will tell me, we got so-and-so coming, okay.
That's
And I'll
exactly
do
what
it.
happens.
So it's 100% usage, but only with one person.
Can you,
Mine's in the reverse of
slash
Trudy's. My wife will
easily
never
keep track on a monthly basis, the calls that you get, that people are asking for, telling you that there are visitors coming in, those numbers of calls?
To the
Do
gatehouse?
you track that?
We don't now, but we certainly can do
Is
that.
that okay? I mean, is that a major
That would be a
deal?
great metric for us.
Well, that's, if you could keep track on a monthly basis, you know, you get 300 calls, even though you'll see the seasonal change obviously in there, but we can track it over time then.
Those calls would be
You know what
strictly
I'm trying to
for
say?
guest access?
Yeah.
Whatever, anything.
Or any call to the
That could be
gatehouse.
handled by dwelling lot.
Yeah, on a monthly basis.
If there's any call that could have been handled by dwelling lot, that's what we're trying to get to.
So it wouldn't be somebody calling to say they see, you know, alligators running across.
Right.
the
Yeah, yeah.
lawn.
So anything that dwelling life should have been,
Should have been able to handle.
could have handled.
Could have handled.
And that'll drive us to try and get.
Minus or inclusive of getting set up on.
Not that.
I don't care about
Not that.
that.
All right.
No, it's, people are registered and
Just
they're
making
supposed to
sure
be
I
using the
understand.
system.
Yeah, that would,
That would
well,
be
I
a
think that's
good-
an
Yeah,
excellent-
and then we
track.
can track it over time.
And
Yeah.
see if we're really making progress with it.
Right, and we can provide that to the
Yeah.
community, that information.
I guess the question would be, you know, certainly Jason's weekly letter encourages people to use the system.
That's one way of getting the information.
Yeah, but what I'm wondering is, you know, are there other things people think we might be able to do to kind of give us a kick in the rear? I certainly will say something about it at the upcoming Alliance meeting. Sure.
At the president's meeting, we can do that at the monthly thing.
I mentioned it at the president's meeting this morning. I
Yeah.
encouraged all the presidents to
Keep hammering away.
to keep hammering away, but we need to do that.
Sooner or later, if we flatline,
Yeah.
it may be that flatline number is everybody doing the same kind of, whatever this one thing is, X, Y, Z. And maybe our residents just don't know they can do X, Y, Z. And that's the way we'll tackle to get it to zero.
Keep hammering away, but we.
Sooner or later, if we flatline.
Aren't you gonna have to manually have guards keep track of how many calls they get on that topic?
They
Know how
already,
it's gonna be monitored.
the guards already write down the information when someone calls. So it's just a matter of, have them save the information and then just tally it up at the end of the day, and we'll just keep a record that way.
Because they're, I mean, we're relying just on,
Yeah.
they're
They
so
already,
busy in there sometimes, I hate to
the
add.
guards already
It
write
may
down.
not be 1,000, but we should be able to get
Yeah,
this.
I mean, I just hate to
That's
add
the goal,
more
is
to
to
them.
reduce the
It's-
number of calls, which helps them out.
Right.
you know, they are.
One thing
When you
that
get
to,
into someone using
your
this system, you
point
find
is,
tens
I
of what
actually
happens
have
to
heard from
use for
people,
regular
and it's not all a surprise, it happens all the time, but they heard there were these problems registering, so they're saying, okay, I'm gonna wait till the kinks are ironed
Absolutely.
out,
Yes.
then I'm gonna sign
That
up.
was
So
legitimate, yep.
I'm thinking, you know, April, May, June, you may see a little bit of an increase, because people then are gonna say, okay, I've heard it's okay, I've heard it's running well, now I'll do it.
Well, and maybe that's what Jason's email has to say, the kinks are in the
Exactly.
system, it's
Yes.
not registered.
Yeah, let
You
people
haven't done
know.
it, do it now.
It is working.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
People then are gonna say, okay, I've heard it's okay, I've heard it's.
John, you were saying that Orion could,
Can he answer some of the questions regarding this background checks?
well, I've actually sent it to Bob, and Bob got back to me and said
Oh, he already did?
he would be looking into it. So
Oh, I saw
I
that.
think we've got that covered with this one.
I got two non-dwelling lot comments.
Can he answer some of the
Sure.
questions regarding
Both of
this
these, I guess,
background
would be
checks?
for
Well, I've
The
actually.
gate function, automatic barcode reading gate function for
Oh,
the
he already
lane
did?
next to the guard.
I think.
Used to be very, very quick.
Yeah.
I can help you with that.
Jason,
All right.
that was addressed at this morning's president's meeting.
And
I have Cypress Access coming out to look at I think it's a reader issue with the laser or something in there. It's not related to dwelling unit.
great.
That
No,
we know
I
of
said
at
this
this
wasn't
time.
going on.
Yeah.
Okay, second comment.
Jason,
We
that was
continually
addressed
have
at this morning's.
problem, where the rovers.
I have Cypress
will park
Access coming out to look
next
at the
to
I
building,
think it's a reader
under
issue with the
canopy
laser or
thing.
something in there. It's not.
And I generally stop everyone and make an
That we
ask.
know
I
of
said
at
this
this
wasn't
time.
please. You're not supposed to park there. But I'd like to make sure that we have a sign that says it. Because sometimes, as happened to me one day, I'm behind 4 people that roll up to the automatic gate, and nobody will ever try to tag. They all wait till it comes up, and I'm sitting in the back, it's nuts. And I can't use the other lane.
You're retired, You're
Right?
retired.
The little things set
You
me off. I'm very
have to
sorry.
you have to deal with the Giffords of the world.
There are some
You're
of us-
supposed to wait for the gate to go up and down.
No, you're not. That one will work. I'm talking about getting out, not getting in.
That's why that one gets hit all the time.
Because they don't, wait.
You have
I haven't
to
hit
deal
the
with the
gate.
Giffords of the world.
Anyway, they shouldn't be parking.
That's correct. That's correct. We'll make sure that stops.
Getting out, not getting in.
That's why that one gets hit all the time. Yes, definitely.
We don't use it, it's not working.
Well, there you go. Well, now, a
Being
few
hit.
people.
I
I'm
think,
kidding.
yes, definitely.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is the other gate fixed?
Yes.
That was broken yesterday?
It is not fixed. I've contacted Cypress Access to come out and look at that as well. I asked that they look at that at the same time they come out tomorrow. Hopefully they'll be out by tomorrow. Definitely.
Any other questions of Ryan or Jason?
Since we put the stoplight in, even when the light turns green, people stop.
Oh, yes, yes, I've
I
noticed that.
can't tell you how many
I
people
noticed
I've
that.
almost hit. You know, Gifford, I saw it's green and I'm flying.
But I've seen people stop it and then just leave when it's still red, they make their.
Well, I've seen-
There was
seen that
2
as well.
people and the light turned green and the first guy went, the second guy pulls up and stops. I can't tell you how many people somebody thought that. You know, Gifford, I saw it's green.
We're old, Bob. Come on, you gotta get retrained.
My insurance is
The
good.
short-term memory is not there.
Okay, thank you, Ryan, thank you, Jason, appreciate it. Okay, moving on, capital reserve study.
Capital reserve study, okay, in some activity. You can make your own judgment whether it's good or bad.
Okay, thank you,
First of all,
Ryan, thank you.
I talked to
Jason.
Philip Robbins.
Right, okay,
And
moving on.
It looks like he's got some background in doing these kinds of studies, okay? And he's more than willing to help.
Good.
So I've been sending him some of this information.
Is he a resident?
Yes.
He's a resident.
Okay, he's a resident. Okay.
Huh? No, this is not Jack,
Oh, no,
no.
Reynolds.
No, this is
I have
a
not
new.
talked to Jack.
Philip is a new resident, who
I've been sending him some of this.
very much wants to be involved in the community. He helped out on Carol's campaign, and he's doing some other things. No.
But he's
This is
more than
not
happy
Jack,
to help. Oh, no, Reynolds.
No, this
I
is
have
a
not
new,
talked to Jack.
Philip is a new
So
resident.
I've had several emails back and forth between myself and Stephen Bloom on this subject. several of them today, and I tried to get the latest to you guys. Unfortunately, there's at least one more email that came in after the ones that you've got. But the bottom line to this whole thing, and I thought it was gonna be easy. I mean, John's worked on this maintenance agreement, which has all of the assets in it. And I said, gee, why don't we just use that list, here's our assets, and use that for the reserve study? Well, Stephen says it's not good enough to this whole thing, okay? I thought it was gonna be. What he's been doing, he's been looking at all of the information from the prior contract. Okay, so he's been going back 10, 12 years, researching the amount of money that had been spent on infrastructure. And it should have been this chart, this is where they're at, this chart that you got. And if you look at this chart, it doesn't make any sense to me. Okay? I don't know what improvement infrastructure is.
I believe,
It should have been this chart,
I
this is
believe
where
that
they're
you'll
at.
find that the majority of that was
And if you
bond
look at
funds
this chart, it doesn't make any sense to me.
that paid for
I don't know what improvement
they had
infrastructure
broken
is.
pipes that we had, because the reason I say that is they're referencing requisition numbers.
Well, these are all requisition, all of it. This is all requisition.
When Kent and the other people, the term they specifically used when bond fund money was appropriated was requisition.
Well, that could be, and that makes it even worse. This is
Because
not a
that
list of
shows you,
assets.
that shows you, those two
So-
key terms tell me that's what that is.
So I went, when Stephen gave me this, and they've been working on this for months. This is not just something they put together in a couple of days, okay? They've been working on this, and he said, you know, they're tearing their hair out, trying to come up with a list of assets. And I went back to it and said, well, why don't you use the one that we already have, that's been worked on and now approved? And he came back and said, well, it's not quite good enough for our purposes, okay?
Can I make a comment? Remember, the one in the agreement, the one we use here is
The one that we already have.
bigger
Been worked on
and
and now
larger
approved, and he
than
came
the
back and
physical
said,
one in the agreement, because the agreement just says it's a working document that will be changed.
Oh, sure.
So which one is Stephen Bloom looking at?
Okay, he's looked at the recently approved maintenance agreement, and he says it's not sufficient for purposes of doing a reserve study. He's looking at all of the old information, and they basically can't make heads or tails out of it, really. You know, in terms of pinpointing that to a specific item, you know. So neither one of them is working out well from Stephen's perspective. In one of his emails, yeah, in one of these emails, in fact, it's the last one that you've got, he talks about that doing a physical inventory would be useful. Neither one of them is working out well from Stephen's perspective. Well, you've done close to a physical inventory, maybe not 100%, but you've got done some of it. So I went back to him and said, well, why don't we do a physical inventory? Is there an issue with that? Does that solve this issue and we go and do a physical inventory? Even if we start with the maintenance agreement as a source document, but, you know, if it has to be adjusted, be adjusted accordingly. And he came back, he said that, he thought that was, and that's the email you don't have, he thought that was an okay idea, and that in fact he had talked to April about it, and that she was amenable, which is conservative. We didn't get into it all, because that's ran out of time. And, you know, how would you do that? Who would do it? Yeah, would you contract for that? Would we do it? You know, which is okay. You know, I mean, it takes a little bit of time and effort, but, you know, we can do it, I suppose.
I think that Castle and you can do that together, because they know what they're paying for.
Well, it's not even a matter of what they're paying for. It's like, here, look at that. Is that a physical asset we need to worry about? You look at it, you say, yes, okay, write it down. Now, you've got to go one step further, a couple of steps further. You got to do things like, you know, when was it put together, what's its useful life, what's its replacement cost? But that's the reserve study portion of it. You got to start with a list of assets. Okay, and I would think that between Castle, you walked out at the wrong time You've been,
Big time.
We might be giving you a big task to do. Physical inventory of all the assets that we need to put reserves into.
Jason,
Within the community.
I'll volunteer to work with Jason as an adjunct to the agreement, because that's part of what we want to do with this B1, B2, future assets, et cetera.
Okay.
Now, Jason, how do you and I communicate?
Well, that was gonna be part of my discussion here. I would love to participate in that. If we can clearly state publicly that the only discussion we would have is physically identifying assets, and no other discussion in terms of anything else that could be related that should be done in public.
How about, why don't you check with Tony? Sure, and find out whether that would be permissible.
Only discussion
I
we
think-
would
I
have
think
is
that's-
physically
Or
identifying.
we go on record with minutes somehow, I don't know.
Well, ask him.
All right, you ask me.
Yeah, no, I'll ask him.
How you can pull it off.
Yeah.
Sure.
A question on, how about the list of assets that we used for the reserve study that was done?
They've got that. In fact, Nancy, I don't know where she got it, quite frankly.
Oh, yeah.
She's got a list. I got
Jack,
a copy,
yeah.
I got a copy of the study.
I got that from Jack.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. How about
I mean,
the list of assets that we
it's
used
got
for the
23 pages of charts and graphs
Oh, I
and
know,
everything
yeah.
else, and very little narrative.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I looked at it for about a half an hour, and I said,
yeah.
got a list. I got a copy. But
of
there
the
is a
study.
list of assets
okay.
with dates that they were created, et cetera. So we've got a starting point for some of it. But a lot of this stuff is not on here, obviously. Very little narrative. When that was done, and it certainly doesn't have the to be transferred over to us. But there is a list
Question
of
is,
assets.
you could start doing, this little asset or this
We've
one
got a
little,
starting point for some of it.
but you're talking
A lot
a
of the stuff
reserve
is not on
study
here. Correct.
that is long-term
Certainly
on
doesn't have the
big
be
assets.
And I don't have any problem in saying, for example, make monuments a one-line entry. And say, we need, in the end, we need to put aside, I don't know, $1,000 a month for monument replacement.
Why?
You know what I mean?
They get
And
maintained
just
on,
identify it
they
that
get
way.
maintained on a yearly
Well,
basis.
no, I'm not saying you have to, but I'm just saying your comment is well taken.
Well, let me comment on, at the big monuments, just the entrance at Colonial and, Tree Line.
Sure.
I mean, there were some major things, I used to go up there with Mary Beth way back.
Sure.
And it had to do with lighting, it had to do with the, structure being redone with some maintenance on the structure, the way the font was working. And it was maintained, just last year, they spent a fair amount of money on it. It's gonna have a life to it, that again, 5 or 10 years from now, you might have to do similar stuff.
Those are the kind
Well,
of things
but
that.
But I don't think they should be
But
in a
that's-
reserve.
No, that's my point. What you have to do, I think, is identify that and then make a conscious decision that we're gonna put that in the maintenance and repair budget, and we're not gonna put anything in the reserve budget for that, those things.
I say you just list the reserve budget. Don't say, we're not putting this in and here's why, it gets too complicated. Just put the ones in and they're.
I think we need to make a conscious decision on some of those things. That's all.
So what assets do you think should go in the reserve budget?
Those
I
things.
say you just list, well, I mean, you've got some of these listed here. So you're not putting this in and here's why.
And I don't have any problem with
Town center, I
that.
mean, you know.
We just need a list that we collectively can say, here's the things we think should be part of the reserve stuff. And we're done. Move to the
Yeah,
next
that's-
step.
Isn't that what we pay the guy to tell us?
Agreed.
Well, I don't know, because what John is saying, he already knows the answer to
No,
it.
I think that's a good idea, because that's what he came up with before. The other
Somebody
guy.
did
I
that.
don't know, I
When
don't know
somebody
where,
walks like an
I don't know
idiot.
where he came up with this stuff. I don't know the answer to
Well,
that.
maybe you ought to talk to Jack and find out where he came up with it.
Okay, I can do that.
What, my understanding is they come
John
and
is
look,
saying, he already.
They know this, they do it all the
reserve this,
time.
this, and this. I mean, that's their job.
This is what you reserve, this is what you keep.
Somebody did that.
I don't know where he came up with this.
You wouldn't put a reserve in for the stripes on the street.
No.
But you would put a reserve in for the street.
For the street itself.
I understand it, I've already said that.
But what I'm trying to say, there's a line between repair versus replace.
And that's what they distinguish for.
And they know that, I mean, they have.
And that's
They know
what I'm
what the
saying to you,
useful
John,
That's their expertise.
without getting into a conclusion, take all the monuments and let them come back and say, but what I'm saying, there's a line between repair. You don't need to have reserve for that.
Well, I agree with that.
That's just recurring.
That's what we pick and choose.
It's done. Okay. And that's what I'm saying to you,
A
John,
couple of suggestions for further
without getting
research,
into a
if you will.
conclusion.
Number one,
All the monuments and let them come back.
if you can find out what a company that comes in to do the reserve study would do. Would
Well,
they-
Jack should know the answer to that.
I was just gonna say.
That's what we
And
pick
then
and choose.
secondly, talk to Jack about how they did it the last time. Third, I would suggest you might wanna have a conversation with Ed Tinkle. He claims to have, or did at a couple of board meetings ago, he claimed to have some kind of a listing that was only good through 2012 or something, of all the assets, both Gateway and Pelican Preserve.
Stephen Bloom doesn't agree with that.
Oh, he doesn't?
No,
Because has he talked to
Because he's
Tinkle?
trying to come up with that list.
I
That's what he's
understand
trying to
that.
do.
Well, except Tinkle, I think, was dealing with a different database. It might just
Okay,
be.
I have no problem.
It
I'll
might just be
follow up
worth,
with,
give him a call.
yeah,
Give him a
or
call.
I'll
I-
include Ed and Stephen and say, hey, look, we're having this issue of
Yeah,
how to come
well,
up with the
yeah,
list.
yeah.
My understanding, you might have some
Yeah,
information
try,
about that.
try it. He
I
may-
I remember the first,
Okay, I have no problem.
It
I'll
might just be
follow up
worth,
with,
give him a
Scared.
call.
yeah, or I'll
I hear.
include
I
Ed and
understand
Stephen. I've heard that.
and then we got somebody else included, watching.
Yeah,
Come up with the list.
yeah.
My understanding, you might have some.
Yeah, yeah.
Said things like repair the roof.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Good.
you-
And I'll take back what I said, these are not planned.
I've heard that.
At least not the first page, there's nothing.
Well, that's it. That's it.
No, the second page there is a
Well,
lot.
there's a couple of
The
things.
first page is not.
That's my next question, from a pond's perspective, and the infrastructure associated with
I'll
that.
take back what I said,
Do we need to put reserves
these are not the first page.
for some of that stuff? It should not be
Probably,
in this
yes.
study.
It should be there. We'll be able to,
And that's my
for
next
instance, we put
question.
in aeration. It's gonna have a useful life of X number of years.
Yeah, you gotta
And you
hold
replace it.
motors,
So
pumps,
that's
they're gonna
exactly,
have to
so that
get
should be a
replaced.
relatively simple thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't have reserves, then all of a sudden down the road, you're gonna need big assessments.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what you wanna
Oh,
do.
yeah.
And that's what
That's
we
what
try
we
to
wanna
avoid.
avoid.
You wanna
Clearly, that's what we
limit,
want to
limit that possibility, not that it won't happen, but it couldn't happen.
That's exactly. So that
That's
should
the whole
be-
idea of reserves, or else you wouldn't have it. You know, like WCA, they haven't put any money in reserves.
Well, because they didn't want to assess themselves.
No,
That's the bottom line, we knew that.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, well, and they didn't in any of the communities.
Yeah, right.
They would never
The
do that.
individual communities.
They're taxing
Because
themselves, that ain't gonna happen.
Well, yeah, right, and it also, when they were selling the communities, made the assessments look, would make the
Sure.
assessments look higher.
Sure.
More attractive.
More attractive.
Okay.
All right, so that will continue. Next thing is PPAC charter, which, well, yeah.
Can we just send the charter in its present form to the supervisors and say, here,
More attractive.
we've passed it, we need you to
We never
pass
passed
it.
it, did we?
No.
Well, then
Next thing is
we need to do
PPAC charter.
that.
Okay.
And tell them, we passed it without Tony's
let-
comments.
let me-
Send the charter. in its
Let me try
present-
Tony one more
You know,
time.
I mean,
Let
he
me
keeps
try-
saying the same thing.
Yeah, let me
I
try
got
Tony
things,
one
I'm
more
looking
time.
at it, I'll get to it, and it's been what, 8 months now?
Based on my limited experience before the board, if Tony hasn't busted, they ain't gonna.
Well, but then let them give it to him. Maybe he'll
Okay,
respond to that.
I'm not saying it can't
That's
happen.
my point, I don't expect him to approve without Tony's comments.
But we gotta approve it
But
first before we take it to that.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
But, you
Okay,
know,
well, let's-
it's a dead issue right now, and Tony isn't responding.
Tony hasn't
Okay.
And it's not a big deal, it's not like he's gonna take him hours and hours and hours.
I'm not saying he can't.
That's my point, I don't.
Well,
I got a 14-page report with a damn downspout.
He claims, he claims that he's already looked at it, and he just needs to review his comments.
And he's been doing it
I
like
love
that
it.
for 8 months.
I love him, but you don't get a one-word answer out of Tony.
I did.
You get an epistle.
He told me the dog ate.
He claims,
Dog ate his nuts.
he claims that he's already looked
He
at
was
it.
being facetious, and I thought it was
We got
very
7
nice.
more minutes.
Okay.
I haven't even talked.
We got,
We're gonna be done in an hour.
no. We're on to the bond update. Now, It turns out, and I had Diane make copies of these things for all of you.
Okay. Is this that thing?
That's the DocDat thing that I couldn't get through to you. But basically, April has got this agenda item to present to the board, and it a request to approve, $76,000 from the bond proceeds, although the cost exceeds the amount of $73,750 in the fourth amended engineers report. She wants, whoever the person is, she said me, but Bob, I think you're the next meeting. You go, at least the way the current.
16th, I think.
16th, right. This would come up. And what confuses me now, and the third document you have is an email from Nancy, which indicates to me that I don't really understand this thing at all. She talks about gutter repairs, and she says Danny or Tyler should weigh in on it, and I sent this to Danny and Tyler and asked for their comments. What confused me is, she says, she mentions, Bob, that you might have to have extra money, and I'm not sure where you come into this. If okay to use bond funds, does Bob have any slack in his authorized bond proceeds? Okay.
We had X number of dollars remaining in the
She
bond
mentions,
fund.
Bob, that
And we went through that
you might have
proposed litigation with WCI,
Right.
where they wanted 600, they ended up at 300, whatever.
okay to use
Came out
bond
to a
funds,
number.
does Bob
We
have
gave
any
them their
slack in
credit
his
house to go
authorized
away.
bond
That left a balance.
Right.
Okay, now, in the balance, we had X, there were two items, bonds and the lift.
Okay.
And the amount that was in the bond designated to the lift was the 73,250.
Okay.
And now apparently it's coming in at 76. So that means the $3,000 difference will be balanced.
We
Just-
could- we
It's
could
still
absorb-
bond fund money.
Yeah.
It's gonna be less for us to apply to the ponds, but it's a lift.
It's
So
fungible.
You have enough in there that won't be an issue?
Oh, yeah, because the way it's gonna work is we're gonna spend $1 million, we only got 500 anyway. So we're gonna be going into deficit spending. Still bond funds take us more years. Yes. And the same thing applied to the traffic study. If we were not bonding,
It's fungible.
You have
then
enough
that
in
takes some of
there.
the money to do that. Now,
Yeah.
having said those words, the bond fund money will not come to us to cover anything other than the same thing applied to the traffic study, the $76,000 cost. And the rest of it won't be going to downspout. The rest of the money, the 900, is gonna go to irrigation, or to aeration, and things of that nature, because you can't spend O2 money, or bond fund money, on O2 items. So we're working with Stephen to make sure we got all the apples in the apple column, and the oranges in the orange column, and the grapes in the grape column. So there'll be a lot of movement of money back and forth, so that we only apply appropriate requisitions to the bond fund, regardless of how we spend it. We can only apply certain requisitions to the bond fund. But everything we apply to the bond fund, in the past, we paid out of O2.
Right.
And we're going back and changing those recs, and take them from O2 and put them in the bond
Bond
fund.
fund, okay.
There's a lot of double talk, but it's under control. This is not a problem. I'm okay with that.
You're okay with it, so you're ready to,
For $3,000 for, we still got $980-something thousand. We're way ahead.
yeah.
I don't understand why somebody would say the gutter repair is at the end of the asphalt, right next to the curb.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely, if you can't do a final lift correctly and the gutter has to be repaired, that's part of road. That is, it shouldn't even be an issue. I don't understand why. Gutter repair is at the end would not be.
Let's do this. I've sent this off to Danny and Tyler just to get their comments. Bob, I will get their comments.
I haven't read this letter.
Yeah, to you. There, by the, and,
But let me read it. I
yeah.
don't see that, if we're talking
But you're
$3,000.
you're the one who needs to be ready
Yeah, I'll be
to
there.
support this at the 16th meeting. Okay. All right.
In all honesty, I think we're making a mistake, putting the final.
There, by the.
We're doing that for
and-
political.
I understand.
Because the residents want it, but I'm okay with
But
$3,000.
you're the one. Well, I think it's,
Yeah, I'll be there.
support. It's a problem if we do it.
They don't wanna
and
wait
it's
a couple
problem-
years, okay.
It's a problem if they do it, problem if they don't do it. Yep. GSCDD board meeting reports, I think you got the written reports, one from John, I guess, and one from me. And
And the date is corrected.
and the date is corrected,
They don't wanna wait a couple
the
years?
correct date. Are there any questions from, from the committee members about those reports? If not, we'll move right on to Mr. Gepper.
Let me make one comment on mine. When I attended the PPCA meeting on February 23rd, it was nice to hear they will consider the possibility of increasing the Pelican Preserve from 3 to 5.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like that too.
Oh, I like that too.
And the Lennar
Basically,
guy
we
did
can
not,
turn it over.
yes, and the new person from Lennar just suggests, I think we should take that under consideration. And David Caldwell was very receptive to that idea. Whether they'll do it,
Yeah, I like that too.
Oh, I like that
but I think that was a very good idea.
So would that mean that
There'll be 2 residents instead of 1.
Yes.
Oh, no,
no,
we
I'm
can't
sorry,
control
I'm
it
sorry.
till it's.
Oh, I thought that meant we would have 3 seats of the 5.
Oh, no, no.
have 2 seats?
No, no, we would have 2 seats of the
And
5.
I'm negative, I don't care one way or the other. We don't get control.
No, we're not
Well,
gonna.
you're not
they're
allowed to get
they're not-
control
We're not
until
allowed,
it's
they're not gonna give,
80%.
they're not gonna give us control until we get.
Oh, no, we
I
can't
misread.
control it till it's.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought
no,
that meant we
no,
would have.
it was, it was,
I'm all excited.
Rich Rittenberg's recommendation,
And I'm negative.
just to kind of beef up the board as we're starting.
So you have a couple of our people
You're not allowed to
there.
get
Yeah,
control
exactly.
until
A little bit.
More than just Gary.
More than just Gary. You know, they, the way they treat that board, you know, Gary doesn't find anything out until, 3 minutes before the board meeting starts, but maybe
But
if we
still,
get-
he's probably the most
if we get-
knowledgeable resident.
I
other than
agree, I think,
Paul
I
Fish
think,
or something.
yeah, I don't think you'd want to take Gary off. I think
Absolutely
You might
not.
want to add somebody from the way they. In some of these.
And eventually, he may be part of retirement.
Yep. Okay, Ponds Work Group.
Okay, still, he's probably the most knowledgeable. I'm not-
Okay, I think.
Okay, I don't think. If we can kind of gather together there. Stand up so you all can see this. You can come around a little bit, Lance, I appreciate it. These are the engineering drawings. I'll show you for 2 reasons. This is the Avila complex. Here's the pond we have the money appropriated for and we're moving forward on. And here's the part that is going to be resculpted, the pond ramp. So that's all been approved, the board's approved, got the money, we can all straight ground this week, next week. And we're gonna be blocking off part of the road just as information. Here's the pond.
They're gonna be doing this coming weekend?
Start,
So they're gonna have to block up part of the road.
probably for a month.
For a lane.
That's all.
You know-
Castle
you know-
Group's gonna put it in their,
Yeah, but the problem is,
the traffic study.
the traffic study, all the data collection for the traffic study is being done next week.
Okay, it's next week?
Starting
They won't block it next week.
Okay, can we avoid that?
I can always slow them down.
It's starting.
I'm always trying to speed them up.
Yeah, it's starting on the 14th, they're gonna put their data collection stuff out.
What day is that?
Tuesday, the 14th, and it will last until the following Monday.
Next week? Okay.
No, following 22nd.
Oh!
Yeah,
You can have one, you can have everybody coming in, you need to go out too.
Tuesday, the 14th.
That's late, but I start calling you April. Okay, the second part of this.
22nd March. Keep that date.
Man, the other part is,
After that date.
we made a decision on site, the ponds committee, we were all out there, and we decided since these homes will eventually have to get downspouts and gutters, and we're already digging up everybody's yard, that we're gonna go ahead and do just these homes with the downspout and gutter initiative. So, I'm getting cost right now for whatever that's gonna be, but we got plenty of money for that. But I wanted to make you aware of it now. We have said historically, in a big meeting I put on in Portofino, is that we're trying to do front of house, middle of house, and back of house. So drainage. And a couple of reasons, because then you don't have muddy quagmires between your homes, et cetera. When we made that methodology, our primary methodology, it was not considering an Avila type of home. When we went to get cost estimates, we realized these homes have concrete sidewalks between them. They've got gates, they've got all
Got a little
kinds
wall.
of
They
infrastructure.
have a little wall.
They got walls,
In between the
they've
two.
got everything. So we immediately reconsidered and said, okay, we're only gonna go to the back of the house with the pump. get cost estimates. And if this is the type of home that you have, and you're on the pond, that's what our standard will be for that capital.
There's documents of different RHOA too.
Well, they're condominium.
They're condos. We have covered it with their community, and they're good with it.
Oh, okay.
But I wanna make sure that you guys all knew.
Have you talked to their?
Oh, yeah, we're communicating a lot, but we wanted to make sure that you guys knew that this will be a fundamental change in case somebody starts to breach it.
Oh, yeah, that was set up, that was set up as a condo.
Of those houses, that's the
I
only
wanna
one.
make sure that you guys all knew.
You know, for instance, it is bizarre, I mean, the
Well, they get all the HOA has to do the painting,
Roofs. For me, it was great, because I was only a part-time resident, I love it.
yeah, and yet Trieste, the same houses.
Yeah, that's different. They get the walls up, they got everything exactly the same.
Same, except they're an HOA.
I'm covering the whole month.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that's it. Oh, we had a very interesting meeting with the residents of Portofino, and we had some people there that were very pro, and some that were very con, and some that were very interested in how we took upon ourselves to have the authority to spend our money of the private residents as they saw it. So shared with everyone that Tony, with the residents of Portofino, adjudication that, yeah, this is still an asset of the community, and we need to preserve it. The one thing I didn't see was the people that are not on the pond are very irate that they're being discriminated against. Okay, fair enough. So we may end up getting a suit, but I don't know if we do.
No, that won't happen.
Okay, all
The
right.
guy that made that comment,
Well, he said he was gonna sue us.
no, I mean, there's no way.
Nothing shocks me anymore, John. But what we are doing for the community, and we will do for every community, is we are giving them the cost that we are gonna pay for X number of houses on the pond. And then we will give them a cost if they wanna do the rest of
The
it.
guy that made that comment,
But that would be on them.
now, I mean, there's Portofino passed, and I already sent an email
Yes.
about it. The board did pass through RHOA that the engineering study should be for all the homes, and our board will pick up the extra cost. And if we're on legal ground, we would like RHOA to pick up the cost for the other homes as well, so that the whole community gets done correctly. And that's what I don't know. I mean, any comments, would we,
I wouldn't have
would
any
an
idea. Somebody's gotta
HOA
look
be
at your
on legal
document.
legal ground? Because more than half the homes, 2/3 of the homes are being paid for by ponds. I would hope that the HOA can pick up the other 1/3.
Yeah.
For the other homes.
It's every specific neighborhood HOA docs, they gotta figure that out.
I think part of it has to do with whether the owners agree with
More
it.
than half the
Yeah,
homes.
I would think if the.
Well, the owners have to accept.
They have to accept
You
it.
might have to change your covenants. You may have to change your covenants.
That's tough, because then everybody.
Well, very high, it's very high.
Yeah, we've done it twice in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
But
Times they
how
pay.
does he, you gotta go to your,
Well, the owners have to
Your
accept.
management company has to tell you how it's gonna
and
be.
let them.
But it's only 80%. I am sure we can get 80%, because you only have, as usual, you heard the couple people.
But anyway, to get back to this, I hear you, and we'll talk, you know, that's gotta be an HOA decision.
I agree.
So now,
But it's
we
only
finally are
80%.
gonna start, I've said this 3 times, Tiberio and Valentina, these shovels in the ground Monday.
You heard the couple
We
people.
finally got all the approvals, but anyway, that was quite a hurdle. We finally got all the permits from the city, that's another HOA. We finally got Miss April to say that she liked their workers' comp insurance. That was a whole nother hurdle. And then we finally said, go, and he said, well, I can't, because everything we did barking out with, finally got all going. It's been so long since we first did it. So now they're going back out with Mr. Dig and mark everything, and there'll be shovels on the ground. So Tiberio and Valentina will start, and I really feel that Portofino, Avila will be pretty much simultaneous. So we're moving on with that. The only other big change in this whole project is instead of the individual contractors, Copeland, Extreme Diving, buying the materials that's gonna go in the ground, we're having the district purchase them, and we're buying them from the district. You avoid the 6% sales tax, you avoid anywhere from 10 to 20% markups. So it's gonna save us money in the long run. And since we're gonna do the whole community, we're talking about buying a lot of pipe. So anyway, that's gonna roll forward. And I just reviewed Pond 27, so you know we're doing Armor Max there, just like we did the Seville community. This will, I hope, be one of our very, very last, very expensive Armor Max projects. we're hoping that the rest of the community does something a little bit less than that. New topic, track out.
Well, let me, I like your procedure, Portofino was mentioned, to get Tetra Tech study on all the homes.
That'll be done.
So that we then could go to the board and try to get if we
Yep.
have to change the covenants so that the HOA picks it up.
Yep.
Because I think it's a great idea to get it done correctly, because you want the HOAs to take responsibility for things.
Absolutely. Well, that's part of the whole deal, is when we go. They say, yeah, we'll maintain it once you do it. That'll be done. And that's,
So that
well,
we then
force
could go to the
them do that.
board and try to get the.
Okay, the fast track L.
The HOA picks it up. Because I think
We
it's a
finally
great
got all the
idea
reports we
to get it
needed,
done correctly.
and I sent the reports to Caldwell, said, you gotta do this. Absolutely. Well, that's what we accept. And that was about 8 weeks ago, haven't heard from him, and I am not kicking that turd. I don't care if he ever calls.
Yeah.
That's where that sits.
You know, for some reason, WCI has really
Put the gates in.
quieted down about the conveyance of all of those assets.
This is
And we've got,
Cypress Grove?
huh?
Yes.
This is
Yes.
Cypress Grove,
The
tracked
first-
out.
the first part
The
of
first
Cypress
part of Cypress Grove,
Sewer
tracked
view's
out.
been over there all winter.
You know, for
The
some
WCI has engaged sewer viewer to do stuff.
Okay.
So apparently they're working on the list, but I haven't heard.
And we have, as I told the president's meeting this morning, we have additional issues that have to do with the safety on the roads, which we've been over for a zillion times, okay? And then we also have, some landscaping issues. We want them to get the landscaping in decent shape before we take it. A lot of it's at the monuments and things of that sort. So they're gonna have to do these things before we're willing to, we're not gonna have them screw us again and convey stuff to us that isn't up to standards.
And I know the sewer viewer damaged one of the streets, not in Track L, but in, one of the Karina neighborhoods where the fluid.
Oh, that isn't in Tract L? That diesel fluid spill is not in?
Somebody else.
Oh, it is?
Tract L.
Track L is specifically Karina, Verona, part of
Not
Matamoros,
Verona.
the very first part of
Verona.
Matamoros. Not
Karina.
Verona,
Solera?
Solera.
Solero?
Solera, Azura,
Karina?
part of Karina, about the first third.
Yeah.
And a big chunk of Matamoros, that's Track L.
So I live in Track L.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You got that?
Where I live.
We don't, we're not doing anything in that particular area, but we still have some issues. And a big chunk of Matamoros. We're doing the 30% inspections right now as we speak of the remaining old Pelican interventions. And we have 2 special projects on that, one of which is a crack in I think a spring or something, somewhere out in Karina or further, not Track L, but further in. We're doing the 30%. We're having that inspected right now. It looks like it's a spring. It's either that or a major leak. And we still have the issue on 3 homes on Trieste, one of which is going to be scoping that. And the only reason I bring that up is because they're supposed to tell me, they were supposed to call me when they're gonna do your area so that your people can, just still have the issue.
Outstanding.
And they are there this week, but I called them on my way here, and he's gonna call me back tonight or email to tell me the day they're gonna do yours. They're supposed
I'll
to
be
tell,
there.
and so will I, they'll be the only ones, that's the only thing that's holding up Track L, once we got those answers.
Outstanding.
Okay, aeration. Phase 2 aeration, we will have a bid package available to put to bids before the end of this month. And we've already made the bid package up. The only thing that remains, all the engineering's done. The only 2 things remain is certify easements where we want to get into aeration, and to certify that we have available power to support whatever infrastructure we build. So when those 2 things are done, and I'm sure it'll be done this month, that goes forward. And last but not least, and I'm over my minute, we engaged quite a while ago an outfit called GIS. They're the people that make those big pretty maps. And the vision at that time was that they were going to create for us a website that would be user-friendly for Pelican residents, where you could go to that map or that website, and you could look at your house on your street, and your pond, and know everything that we've done in that pond, and everything we're gonna do. It's all in one master sheet. It will tell you where the flow of the water is, it will tell you whether you have aeration and where they are, it will tell you if you have fish carp, it will tell you if you have fish gates, all this stuff. Now, that was the vision we gave the guy, and he said, yeah, I can do that for $25,000. We had a meeting on tell you, Tuesday of this week, either Tuesday or Wednesday, we went down to his offices. I invited Chris Schumacher. He wanted to make it, but he couldn't, but he's gonna come. But anyway, the whole Pond Creek, what these guys have done just blew us away. It is wonderful. He's got all the as-built, he's got all the design intent from WCI, he's got the straps and the plat, and you can tell what everybody's taxes, I mean, it's all there, down to the name of the occupant. If you just keep zeroing in, you'll get that information. So we have asked him to put on a presentation at the Residents Alliance. And I talked to Carol Rocky, and she said, we can't give you time at this meeting. Well, that's okay, this isn't urgent, because now they're gonna do Lennar and it's
Yeah.
pretty
There's a-
shifted to the Lennar folks.
Well, no, the shift, the biggest shift is to Vesta, the company that's going to be, they're working with to buy the town center.
Okay.
There's
So
gonna
there's
be
two
like
big things
there's
going
two
on.
big things going
So
on.
I told her, I said, this is not an urgent
Yeah.
matter. This is,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Well,
So we'll just put it off to the
the shift-
fall,
the biggest shift
when we
is
have
to
enough
Vesta.
residents here, but it's available now to us.
Does that GPS also show all the utilities?
Everything,
They're working with
everything.
the town center.
it's amazing. So there's
It'd be
two
like
big,
a-
literally
there's
blew
two
me
big
away.
things. Somebody at the president's meeting asked, does it show the depths of the ponds, and Doug says, yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't given it to them yet, but we
Yeah.
have it, and we're gonna give them that. It'll be bathymetrics on everything.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we own.
Who's the company?
GIS, Dave places the individual.
Because we hired somebody to try to do our street with our oak trees and all the utilities and everything too.
We haven't given it to them, we have, we're gonna give that. Talk to Chris Schumacher, that's one of the things, in the district. I believe they've got that data. GIS. Because we've used a lot, I mean, he's incorporated RWA, he's incorporated the South Florida Water Management.
And he was able to just map
Marsh
it all
Riley.
out on one GPS thing.
Well, it's a whole bunch of layers. to
Oh,
this
yeah,
thing.
it is, yeah.
But he's got it. He's got this information.
Okay.
So, the only new thing that he told us is that GIS is transitioning from this, called horse and buggy, to the latest and greatest, and who had a tech company that doesn't have the latest and greatest.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And he told us what it would cost, and it was under 5,000 to make that transition. So while the group was all there, we told them to go ahead. Once I got home and got to thinking about it, I sent him a note and said, don't go ahead yet. Because I think the district is gonna pay for this, the latest and greatest, because we're still lunching off of there. So I haven't talked to Chris yet, but I want Shoemaker to do it, by the district, and save us $500. And we'll just, there's no rush for us to go to the new system, but we will get there. Now, if they balk and say, no, they're not gonna do it for 3 years, then we'll probably move ahead, because the new system's a lot more. But I think we're gonna really be happy with what we end up with.
What's your comment about town center purchase? Any comments?
Yes, well, you know, the Alliance is working on the town
Has
center
a study.
purchase, and they're working with this consultant called Vesta.
Oh, okay.
And
Gotcha,
Vesta is
gotcha.
the consultant, and the consultant is gonna give a presentation at the meeting, and then there's gonna be a presentation about Lennar, you know, they're gonna try and get a Lennar person there. So, you know.
She told me we'd only have 10 minutes for call.
Well, yeah, I told her that you and I would get together and split up
Okay.
between PPAC and,
It's only because we have so much going on, we just wanna make,
Yeah.
see all these people working, you don't know what they're doing.
right. Okay. All right.
When will we be able to access that?
She told me we'd only have 10 minutes. Oh, we're probably a year from that, but it's coming,
Okay,
it's coming.
okay, all right.
Anybody,
Everybody?
everybody. It's only because we have so much going on. You won't be able to change anything, but you'll be able to view it.
Yeah, okay.
Any further questions of Bob? That's the end of the ponds report. Capital Assets Work Group, John, you have anything?
Other than the agreement is already in place, it's signed. It was signed by the CDD approved it, and also Pelican Preserve Community Association approved it. If there's amendments, et cetera, it's on the new agreement. So the new agreement is in place. Agreement is already in place.
The amendment that we're gonna be doing for the security situation, we probably will bring to the first April meeting of the board, and probably try and make it effective at the time of the agreement. The amendment, this is the thing that now says that we don't have to do annual
Oh,
security
yeah,
checks.
yeah.
That
Well, I thought they were
changed.
gonna try to do that for this next meeting.
No, we need to we need to make sure that we got all our ducks in a row before we present it.
My comment was, I don't know why that has to be in the agreement itself. It should just be in the contract with Securitas or anybody else that we deal with. But if Tony feels it's best to be in the agreement.
Tony feels it needs to be in
go
the
in the
agreement.
agreement.
Yep. Anything more, John?
Nope.
Safety and Security Work Group, as I referred to at the traffic study, we met with the people from Johnson Engineering, the SSWG. We met with them on Tuesday, and we got lined up all the details of the traffic study. The data collection is going to begin the 14th. Safety and Security Work Group. They are going to be collecting data all over the place, so you'll see tubes on the road, that kind of thing. And then they'll also be doing physical observations on certain intersections, particularly at the big circle in front of the meter and the golf club. So we're going to be doing a pretty thorough thing. Once they've collected the data, then they're going to have to come up with their conclusions. So, you know, we're a month or two away from actually getting the final conclusions to this thing. But at least we got it started, and we got it started in season, which was really a critical issue for us, to make sure that it's done in season. And we were impressed with the two people, the engineer and engineering person who was an assistant. And so that's going to be started.
And the dates were again?
14th to 22nd is data collection. Is data collection, the mechanical data collection. There may be some other data collection. One of the things we wanted to make sure that we encompassed in that 14th to 22nd is, one of the things we specified in the thing was that we want to know what's happening on nights when there are big events going on. So they're going to cover some time on a town center Tuesday, and then on the 15th there is or the 22nd there's another big concert. There's another concert, and so we want to get data as to how much movement we're getting in traffic and that kind of thing in those big events.
Is the traffic study going to include the golf cart? Like how
We
many
are
golf carts are going to these events?
Yes, well, the events, yes, they'll be looking at that. The thing will also, we will have one of our data collection points is going to be on the road around the
How many golf carts are going to these events?
preserve, so that we can get an idea of how, how much traffic is going there. Actually, it's going to be sitting somewhere out near the butterfly garden. So we're going to get some idea of what kind of traffic that we're getting.
So that would include bicycles?
That would include bicycles as well as, yes, as well.
How about pedestrians?
And
That's not gonna
they
be-
won't, yeah.
I was thinking somebody was there counting.
Yeah, yeah. There are places where they will be counting pedestrians at some of the intersections, but not bicycles as well as. The last thing I wanted to report on is another knotty problem that we may be facing. As some of you may be aware, and we may have mentioned this before, there are places where they will be counting. Part of the path through the preserve is on the property of Sienna. The last thing I wanted to report on is another knotty problem that we may be facing. David Caldwell and the Sienna people had been negotiating how they might be able to give some kind of a variance to over to WCI, so that the entire path could be covered by WCI. Those negotiations came to a stop because the Lennar thing came up, and David Caldwell was going to stop. The Sienna board has been making noises about shutting the whole path down. I requested this morning for Lou Lemare to try and back that off. And I have now talked with David Caldwell. Has been making noises about shutting the whole. And it would appear that we have a couple of options. The main one is to have this agreement with Sienna, and Sienna is insisting on a lot of stuff that apparently WCI was willing to do. David says now that he thinks Lennar probably will be willing to step up to much of what they're requiring. And they're requiring, you know, all sorts of things that will indemnify them against anything that might occur on the path. They are also insisting that they want speed bumps and signs where the turn occurs, the 90-degree turn, because they're afraid that golf carts can run into the pond. And they are
Which has
also
never
insisting-
happened yet.
Never happened yet, but they.
Like proving a negative.
That is, yeah. They are insisting on that. Apparently, one of the things is they have one of the people on their board is an attorney, so that's kind of.
His unit is right there.
Has
Right
really.
there on the
First
corner.
floor corner unit.
It's really,
That's where his unit is.
it's really complicated, the situation.
I would hate to be in that when I was
They
on
are
that
insisting
track.
on that.
He bought it after the fact, he knew presumably what he was getting into.
Yeah.
That doesn't prevent him. His
So,
unit is right there.
in any event,
Right there on the
First floor corner unit.
you know, so the alternative would be, seem to be to kind of go forward with that, with this kind of an agreement with the Sienna people. The other thing that came up in my discussion with David Caldwell, and I was kind of aware of this, it turns out that there are actually provisions when the preserve was set up, that the South Florida Water Management District, one of the things in the agreement was that there are actually no golf carts allowed on the boardwalk. You know, and it's positively in the agreement. They clearly have not tried to enforce it, but there are no golf carts
And now
allowed.
you're talking about the wooden.
The wooden
board,
board,
not the
the
concrete
wooden,
board.
not the concrete, but the wooden board. Now, this doesn't directly impact the Sienna situation, so.
Just an aside.
We're just an aside. We
Oh,
can-
by the way.
By the way, you should be aware that that's there. At some point, you know, it's possible that some kind of enforcement might occur. Nonetheless, I think that, and that's what I wanted to get the input of this group, that going forward with some kind of agreement with Sienna, if WCI can pull it off, they should. But it also seemed to me, and I told David this, that any kind of agreement, I think, we would have to approve, because we are eventually going to get those properties, and that the board of supervisors should approve as well, because eventually, those properties, that property is going to be part of the CED.
For us to maintain.
And we're gonna have to maintain it, and we are gonna have to live with whatever the agreements are, that are made between WCI and Sienna.
What portion of it does Sienna?
Up to where the 90-degree turn occurs.
So once you go
From-
around that corner.
From the road to that area.
Road, from Pelican Road Boulevard to that
So if they
point.
close
It's not
that,
quite that far, but
then
it's
you'd have
pretty
to
far.
go through the boardwalk to, like if you came down to the town center, you'd have to go
Yes.
through the boardwalk and go out the other.
That's correct, that's correct. There were suggestions that WCI should just relocate the path
It's not quite that far.
further to the south. You know, it just isn't practical.
No, because that was, that's a
That's all.
conservation area.
That's a conservation area. You'd have to get South Florida Water Management District, to bless that, to prove it. It just, it ain't gonna
The
happen.
major point of contention for Seattle, I've been involved in this for
Further to the south,
probably longer than
you know,
you
it just isn't
The
practical.
major point is they
that
want
was- that's a
WCI.
That's all.
area.
That's a conservation area. WCI has no problem.
First building, but they haven't done it, and that's the big thing.
Prove it, it just.
And everyone says they think that's okay, and they probably can,
Well-
but it hasn't happened, and that's what's
Yeah,
got
well,
Sienna on
uh,
the,
Where do they want the sidewalk?
from their very first building.
Their carport.
Sidewalk out to.
Pelican Boulevard. They don't have a sidewalk there. And WCI is willing to do that. What they're not willing to do is to do it before the agreement is signed. So that's been a bit of a hang-up.
Yes. Relative to the safety issue of putting in the bumps and things there, it's interesting that they think that would help. But yet, when there was that big oval disc
Yeah.
mirror that you could see what was coming, so you could safely, well, that was removed because the person that's raising all the safety issues didn't like it. Relative to the safety, it was there. It was there, and it's not there. But yet, but it's still in a little side.
Yeah, well,
So I don't know how old people walk in the slow walkers, and there's a lot of them, because I use that thing all the time. How they're gonna negotiate, these humps if you put it in the
yeah.
bumps.
Well, one of the things, one of the things that the attorney is insisting upon is that those bumps be ADA compliant.
I don't know what that means.
Americans with Disabilities.
Oh, no, but how do you make a bump?
I,
Probably the yellow mats with all the, you know, that you go in and out of curbs.
Yeah.
You know, these yellow mats with the little
that's
pad moons
ADA.
on it? Oh, yeah, that is definitely.
Right.
But that was not to slow people down, that was to make the blind aware of the fact they were entering a street.
Oh, no, but how do you make a bump?
Probably the
Anyway,
yellow
there
mats with
are
all-
obviously some,
you know, that you go
but,
in and out of
but
curbs.
it seems to me that this is the way.
This has been
we're
festering
going.
a long time.
Oh, yeah, yeah, well, and now it's still, now we have,
I don't even know how anybody found that out, but you know, whatever.
now we have to go back and deal with, you know, the Lennar, David has to go back and deal with David Cole.
I can see the barrier being put up by that first day.
Oh, yeah, yeah, well, and now it's still, now
I
we
believe
have.
they hold it. Says, okay, you want it, I'm still going here. I've done it for 11 years, I'm gonna do it right on out.
Well, I think we, yeah, I
One
think.
question regarding the South Florida
I
Water
can see the
Management
barrier being put up.
and golf carts. Now, that agreement,
Well, it wasn't an agreement, I guess it's whatever pronouncement, I'm not sure.
11 years?
Correct term for the
was it
document.
recent?
Oh, no,
So
oh,
this
no,
has to go
it goes back
way
to
back.
2003.
Regarding the South
Goes back to
2003.
Yes, sir.
They
It's always
felt-
been in place.
It's
Huh?
always been.
It's always been in place, John.
And
It's
it had to
always
do
been-
just strictly due to maintenance of the.
No.
We have no
Well,
idea what
I have no
that is.
idea, I would have.
This has to go
It goes back
way
to
back.
2000. Pretty dangerous when you are a pedestrian,
Oh, I know.
and there is a golf cart
'Cause I don't
going
know
by
golf
you
cart,
on
I'm a
that,
pedestrian.
on that.
I
on
wouldn't
that
argue that at all, but I will
Especially
say this one
that
thing.
section that goes out to.
When I bought my home, well, they got a little flag there, so you know.
Yes,
I know.
and that was specific for golf
For that,
carts.
yeah.
If you drive your golf cart, you're
Right.
gonna
But
put
my
a
only
flag down.
comment on this is when I bought my home, the salesman put me in a cart and rode me out there and showed me all this beautiful.
And I told you that hadn't done it with us, when my wife reminded me that they hadn't done it with us.
Oh, they had?
And there
Yeah.
was a gator there when they took us there.
Yeah,
There was a big gator right there.
So now, now 13, 14 years later, my only comment on this is they keep up that home.
Yeah, you weren't the salesman.
Oh, this one ought to create.
And-
If you think the trap game was emotional, wait till we go with this one.
I wouldn't mind golf carts not being moved.
I wouldn't mind
They're
either.
so
No, they
noisy
had.
when they go across
Yeah.
that boardwalk.
Yeah, I think,
I don't know, it makes perfect sense to me. It's now 13 change later than what we were told was.
I think
To me,
that,
it's a preserve, and golf carts do not belong.
If you think the trap game was
Because
emotional.
preserves for wildlife.
No. Oh, no, no vehicle traffic, that's the endeavor, no vehicle traffic.
I think,
I think that's what it makes perfect sense to me.
no, that's not what Dave, it's specifically,
I'll get it.
it's specifically on the boardwalk.
No,
Yeah.
again, bikes.
Oh, really? No bikes
No,
either?
no mechanical, other than
Pedestrian.
wheelchairs, pedestrian.
Mm,
I'll check on that.
Yeah, well, he.
But anyway, it is what it is.
It is what it is, and it seems to me that specifically, if eventually we're forced to eliminate golf carts on the boardwalk, that would not be the biggest thing.
And
But I
another-
think trying to
another
eliminate.
possibility is,
Yeah.
I'll check with you, have to
Yeah.
widen the boardwalk. But anyway, to accommodate.
It is.
I mean, let's face it, that may be an
Think
option.
of the approvals you'd have to get for that.
That's what I'm saying, but, you know, that may, I'm
That'll
not saying it
take
is,
about 5 to 10
I'm not
years.
even saying it's a good one.
And the cost of doing it.
Hey, everything
By the
has
time
a
you
cost.
did that, everybody would be used to not having their golf carts go through.
Sooner or later, that boardwalk is gonna have to be replaced. 3 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Deserved,
Sooner
deserved,
or later.
deserved.
And it could be at that time you make it accommodate that golf cart. I'm not saying it is.
Well, and
But we'd have to know the reason that golf carts were not allowed in the first place.
you know, and one alternative, of course, is to eliminate golf carts from the entire path, but
Yep.
I am,
Well, the concrete part.
the concrete part, but
You got it.
I'm,
At that time, you make it accommodate.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. It's good.
as well, I'm of the opinion that that would cause so much action. You know, and one alternative, of course, to eliminate golf carts from the entire town. So that's the
While we're
report.
talking
Pedestrians have a
macadam,
place to jump
Yeah.
out of the way.
do you know we have a resident in our community? Andrea McAdam
Yeah.
is from the McAdam family
Oh.
that invented that product. Just a little trivia.
Little trivia.
She's
So that's the
While we're
report.
talking, you have a place to jump out of the way.
You know we have a resident, McAdam, hardtop like
Asphalt.
Andrea, asphalt, yeah.
Somebody
McAdam.
Okay.
All right, sir.
Let's move on. No more, nothing more from Safety and Security Work Group. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Gateway meeting attendance schedule. We're out through April. Bob, you're okay on the 16th? Ron, you okay on the 6th of April?
Yes, I got it. All right.
I think Jan is okay on April 20th.
Why have the 6th or the 20th?
Anybody have any questions? According to the minutes, you have the 6th.
I have it in my calendar as the 20th.
You do. Bob, you're okay on the 16th? Can you do the 6th of April?
Yeah.
I think Jan.
Somebody's gotta take the 20th.
Jan's
Jan's got,
Oh, okay.
Jan's got the 20th.
She's not here.
And,
We were all May too.
yeah, that's right.
I have it in my calendar.
Yeah, when would the May meetings be? I didn't bring
Should be the 11th and the 25th.
11th and 25th?
Oh, excuse me.
No, 4th
Fourth
and
and
18th.
18th. We're the 11th.
We're the 11th,
We're
right?
on the 11th.
4th and 18th? Can we have volunteers for that? I would, I'd do the 4th. Yeah, when would the May meetings be?
I may be gone.
Preliminarily, oh yeah, you may be gone by then. 25th. Anybody?
Oh, excuse me.
No,
4th and 18th.
Huh?
We're the 11th.
Could you do the 4th then, Nancy, and I do the 18th? Can we have volunteers for that? I would, I'd do the 4th. Yeah, when would the May 18th be?
Maybe gone.
Preliminarily, oh yeah, you may be gone by then. Here, this, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be gone a lot of May and June.
Could you do
Oh,
the 4th then? Well, I will do the 4th.
Maybe Nancy.
Nancy, at the next meeting, we'll see.
It-
So we'll just
It won't
take.
go begging. We
No,
can-
Or I can do 4, because I'll be gone. Let me, I have a bunch of visitors coming, I gotta be sure maybe it's all right.
Okay.
In fact, let me tentatively say I'll do the 4th.
You the 4th, okay. And I will then take the
But I-
18th. We'll see. So we'll just
It
take.
won't go begging. We
No,
can-
that's
Or I
the
can
current
do
setup. All right.
I have a question on the CED. Did anybody ever, I have a bunch of visitors, read or go through the book that they have? It's on the computer.
It's on the computer. You
And
can.
I
will
What,
then take.
when I attended one of the meetings, rather than me trying to take a lot of notes from, I just said page such and such of the book.
Oh, yeah.
But when the minutes finally came out, that all changed. And that I never realized. Like page 89 was no longer 89. When I attended one of the meetings, and I don't know if that's the new system that April's putting
Well,
together.
no, I doubt it. You ask Diane about it. She could probably tell you. Or you could talk to Marilyn Murphy herself.
Unless it was just unusual for that
Yeah.
particular meeting.
Yeah,
That
don't
I never
know.
realized.
Okay,
That's
next
May
meeting.
4th that I have.
You have May 4th. Next meeting is April 13th. And we don't have, we should have committee member requests and audience comments. Okay.
As long as I hear from Bob, I'm gonna be very happy.
Next meeting is April.
Know your audience.
Okay. Any other committee member requests? This is, we certainly didn't drag
No, I
out
feel pretty
multiplied
lonely.
millions today, did we? Okay, motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second,
We're adjourned.
and I encourage you guys to go head out to Tiberio next week. Know your audience. Watch what's going on with the
Didn't drag out. Bob, I'm sorry to do that to you. Will you be able to delay that motion to adjourn? Sorry to that.
It won't delay the work.
Yes.
It'll delay the bringing of the supply. Not to do that till the 23rd.
Okay, thank
They'll
you.
still go in and there's a lot they can do.
Oh, can they? Okay, good.
In regards to Portofino, I got that motion passed and everything.
Yeah.
Please get Tetra right away, so we can spend the money without somebody
Before
saying
somebody
no.
else comes back in and says, hey, remember that?
Before the,
You wanna revisit?
Oh, no, hey, he is just, says those things, that guy.
okay.
So it is,
Well, what was really nice was the one resident that was there that had, Copeland had done their corner and how complimentary
yes.
they were.
Before somebody else comes back and says, hey, remember that?
We finally had a resident came up, something we had done, and he was just singing the praises. We loved it, he said, great, it looks wonderful. What was really nice was the one resident.
Carol, I talked to Carol.
Copeland had done that.
Yeah, right, I know she's she'd like us to hold it down.
She told me.
Yes, 20 minutes max, probably 15. I'm willing to go 5.
It's not that we're gonna have so much to say, it's that we're in the middle of something.
Yes, right.
So we can do it as quickly as we need to. And we'll stay around for questions afterwards. That's probably the more appropriate way to do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna say, we got people working in 3 different neighborhoods, because by then they will be. And, so if you have any questions about anything, we'll stop us. We'll explain.
Maybe I'll do the same. So if you can, let's say, hold it for 10 minutes,
Absolutely.
I'll hold it for 5.
I'm sure we can hold our, this is our, yeah, absolutely. We're gonna say, we're working on downspouts in this neighborhood, this
Yeah.
neighborhood, we're working on a pond repair in this neighborhood.
That's what I'm
And
gonna
here's
do.
where
I'm just
our-
gonna say, these are the activities we're doing,
Yep.
and maybe I'll, if you have any questions, okay.
Yep.
All right, that sounds good.
We're holding a lot of community, absolutely downspouts too. I'm sure we still.
Yeah, good.
This is our, yeah, and I know we're gonna run it, we're saying, we're working on downspouts in this
Yeah,
neighborhood.
yeah. Anything more?
Oh, I haven't heard from him. Here's where he knows us.
Yeah. These are the activities we're doing.
Never another word. Well, I've talked to them about 3 times.
Yeah.
We're holding a lot of, because I keep waiting about, so they'll tell me it's really good. They won't do that. They'll say it's okay.
Yeah.
So they basically acclimated their hearing.
Yeah.
But we're gonna be very sensitive to the quality of the insulation, even more so in the new bid package than we were the first time. I've talked to them about 3 times. Because I keep waiting about, so they'll tell me it's really good. All is quiet, all is good.
Yeah,
We had a pretty fast meeting, I think.
Huh?
We had a pretty fast meeting.
Yeah, and we had more meat than I thought we did.
More so. In the new bid package, Jason's the only one that signed up.
Have a great one. See you later.